Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of Beyond the Ordinary Show. Tonight we have Matthew John on. We're going to be speaking. Oh my God, we started already. Here we go. We're going to be speaking about awakening to your true galactic self. And these are always fascinating conversations with Matthew, the wisdom that he brings into playfulness and just how he goes in and is able to interpret this, translate some of the vocabulary for you, and the energies as well is quite extraordinary. So we're getting an amazing call. We'll open up to some Q&A. There's an amazing special offer package, which includes the opportunity to work with Matthew one-on-one in package B. And if you're new to Matthew John is an internationally recognized spiritual teacher. He's an intuitive, psychic medium, trance channeler, intuitive astrologist, starseed guide, energy healer, medical intuitive, speaker, and spiritual life coach, mentor, working with angels, archangels, ascended masters, and galactics, and so much more. It's gonna be a great call again tonight, y'all. I hope that you can sit back, relax, enjoy, receive, and play with us as we navigate today's call on Beyond the Ordinary. And with that, Matthew, welcome to the call on Beyond the Ordinary today.
Thank you for having me back, John.
Yeah, so let's dive in. Awakening to your true galactic self. What does that mean?
Yeah, well, let's see. I think the simplest way is to think about this as being like a funnel, and we're at the very bottom of the funnel. We're who we are in any given moment, how we perceive ourselves, how we hear ourselves when we're speaking, how we see our reflection in the mirror. It's a product of what comes out this funnel, but what is going into the funnel and what's going into the funnel are layers of the self that come from a higher place. We could say the soul. We could say the galactic self, which is what is going to be more the focus today. So awakening to the true galactic self is kind of the idea of, first of all, understanding who that is, what that is, right? And not only understanding it, but how do we bring more of that energy of the galactic self into the everyday, every minute, every second human self? And I think the world needs that really strongly right now. I mean, we could say that at any time, but if you feel into the experience of the world this week, I think this is a very timely call.
I think that we have reached a place of maturation that are capable and being called to receive those aspects of ourselves. Now, I don't think there's any mistakes in any of the timing and the occurrences that are happening. And I firmly believe, I can't even say I believe, I know that we're being called forward.
Yeah. And anytime we feel like we're being compressed, whether it be due to circumstances in our own little circle, right? Could be family stuff, could be relationship stuff, could be health stuff, right? Or, you know, if it's coming from what we're seeing in the outside world that is bugging us or causing us to feel emotional, right? Whichever the case, and a lot of times, ironically, it's happening at the same time, that compression that we're feeling is intended on a higher level to create expansion. How are diamonds created, right? Through pressure. So exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I'd agree. I think that it's a very valuable time right now.
It's beautiful. So let's get into the starseed conversation because as much as I know about this and have gone through my experiences of navigating energies that are coming towards me that are part of me, it's always fascinating to me because I learn something new every time. So how does someone know to begin with if they're a starseed?
Yeah, excuse me. I think that's a perfect place to start. Um, well, I mean, to simplify it in one way, if you're here, like hearing my voice, hearing John's voice, you are. Trust us. You are.
It's a
You
thing.
would not be fine. I mean, it's like literally one of my roles on this planet is just like walking around, and starseeds are attracted to me like bugs to a bug zapper, you know. And so yeah, if you're finding this information, and our voices carry frequencies. A lot of times people tell me the reason that they want to go ahead and work with me and do my stuff is just because of the frequency of my voice. And
Mhm.
I know you receive that as well from people. So it's part of what I'm emitting. But to break it down to a little bit more practical, in a practical way, couple key signs, right? First of all, as you might imagine, if you've always had a fascination with the stars, right? I can remember since I was young as I can remember, of just being fascinated with going outside at night and just looking at the stars and wondering what's up there. And my mom tells me that like I'm 3 years old, and just driving down, and I'm like talking about, oh, the moon is a celestial object and it means this and this, and I'm like 3 or 4 years old, right? Young starseed. So yeah, fascination with the stars. If you feel like you'd be really comfortable, like somewhere in my outfit or somewhere here, maybe more comfortable than this sometimes harsh 3D reality, that's a key sign. And starseeds, like, it's kind of both a cool thing, but also sometimes a struggle of feeling this like intense discomfort actually with the earthly experience, with the 3D experience, right? Just even with the simple things like just having to have a job, and make money, having to pay taxes, having to, go and get involved in the 3D medical system, and like all of the real harsh 3D stuff can just like deep down, and really not so deep down, just like with your whole being, feel really uncomfortable. And you might even remember it feeling really uncomfortable from a young age. You might even remember like the education, system, just feeling like, I don't know, like I'm missing something here. Doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be really fulfilling me on a deep level. So that kind of sense of like the foreignness of the systems, the structures, right? Of this. And why? Because in reality, as a starseed, you're coming from a much higher place. I talked about that funnel, right? You're coming from up here. You might be in the fifth density, the sixth density, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th, etc. And you're having to funnel yourself down to this very, very small, section of wavelength that the third density fits into, right? You can actually think of those of you that are more like logical, analytical, mathematical, like myself, you can think of it as a logarithmic graph where like the section of the 3D is so low, right? It's like this compared to the expansiveness of what it's like to be in the 5D or the 6D or the 9D, right? It's an incredible sense of freedom. It's hard to ever experience in the 3D before death. At death, you will experience it, not to be creepy, but you will, right? All of us do, when we're in that transition period between incarnations and in the astral realm. But to experience it in the third density, what that expansiveness is like, it's going to be fleeting by design. Because, like my good friend Todd Deviney, the author of Expansion for Ascending Consciousness, says, if you were able to take all this energy of your true galactic self, which is the title of tonight's call, and actually be able to take it all and fit it into a human body, you would live like a god. You would float. You would instead of walking, you would just float or fly. You could teleport. You could hear everyone's thoughts. You could manifest anything instantly, right? And teleportation, levitation, and instant manifestation are all stuff that we're trying as awakening beings to actually kind of get in touch with and understand better, right? And do. But if you were able to actually bring your whole self here, you'd be able to do it instantly. So this like funneling down is really intense. You're coming on a logarithmic graph from up here all the way down here, right? And because of that, you're naturally just going to feel at times very uncomfortable here on this planet. And I said, there'll be fleeting experiences of that expansion. It could be in a meditation session, a sound healing session. It could be in an ayahuasca session, like you were talking about with Celeste last night, right?
Yeah.
Celeste Palmer, right? Yeah. Um, it could be it could be with any plant medicine or meditation, or it could just happen spontaneously. For me, my whole awakening happened spontaneously because of one of these moments of expansion. And it's important that we have those fleeting moments, but also every time we return to the 3D. I'm a trance channeler. I channel a group of Syrian extraterrestrials. There's 5 of them. They speak as one voice. I'll be interested. I don't know if you've ever heard this from a channeler. Maybe I don't know if channelers really talk about this part, but every time I channel them, usually it's once a month. I'm in a trance for an hour or so. I'm in this state of immense bliss. My eyes are closed the whole time. I have no feeling of what's going on in the 3D world around me. It doesn't matter. I'm just in a very blissful state because I'm up where they're at. And then inevitably, every time there's a period of an hour or two after where I feel pretty good, and then I crash.
Mm-hmm.
I crash down and I get irritable. I feel depressed. I feel lonely. And it's just like returning harshly from that 5D down into the 3D, right? Such an interesting experience. And those of us that are starseeds, which is everyone here, and we're starting to oscillate. We're starting to, dip our toes more and more for even more lengthy moments into the 4th density or the 5th dimension.
And I actually want to talk about that because it's really
Yeah.
important, because there's a lot of people that can relate to being star seeds or not wanting to be on Earth, wanting to be in that state on a continuous basis, and don't want to get into feeling the physicality. It hurts too much. It's confusing. The energy isn't the same. It's not as blissful. How are you mitigating, navigating between the two realms and anchoring in a way that serves you here and now?
Yeah, that's such a valuable question. As you're saying it, I'm answering in my own head, like, because I'm one of the people here teaching others how to do this, right? And the first thing I'll say is that it's very imperfect. Okay.
Mhm.
There's no, and not only is it imperfect, there's no like set manual to doing it. It's difficult. It really is, because you are expected to be in the world, but not of it. And it's a difficult road to walk. For me, I think the most important piece in kind of navigating it is just understanding that who you are to others is not necessarily who you are. And I don't even say who you are to yourself. I just mean who you are. Your projection, you're seeing me, all you are watching me on a screen. I'm a projection in your experience. I'm a projection of my own experience when I'm looking at myself now, right? When I'm looking in the mirror. And we can't ever try to we can find synchronicity. We will always be finding synchronicities, and the synchronicities are key indicators that we're on the ascension path. And they're much more actually indicative than the way that other people will perceive us. Because for other people to see us as we truly are, which we may not even be able to most of the time kind of access ourselves, right? The as we're looking at the upper levels of who we truly are as a soul and as a galactic soul, right? But the indications from spirit, if you will, or the world, you're driving and you're seeing 777 on a license plate, or 444, right? Or you're seeing a feather left in your path, or you're seeing an animal come to you, right? And what does that animal, what is, I drove and I saw a fox the other night, right? Run across. Every time I see the fox, it's a reminder to me to lighten up, right? And to return back to fun and to make more time for myself, right? um, when you see those indications from spirit, it's a remembrance that, okay, we're actually living in more of a ethereal holographic reality than it seems. It seems very hard, right? It seems very physical, but it isn't actually. And that we can find our reference point in the context of ascension more through the signs and synchronicities versus trying to get other people to see it in us.
Hmm.
It's the number one thing that I think I find light workers get dragged down by if they're not careful. Their husband, their wife, their brother, their mother, their father, their ex-boyfriend, their boss, right? Like they're going along, they're watching Beyond the Ordinary show. They go and they do a meditation. They do a healthy juice and go to bed. And then they wake up the next morning and they got some text message from their sister projecting onto them. Or
Hmm.
they go to work and they've got, their boss like projecting. And we can never look for that confirmation in others. It will come ironically though when you don't look for it. I found that because like people from your
Absolutely.
past, they'll come back to you at a certain point and they'll start to see you. And maybe you can tell me your experience with this because you're older than me. Is they'll start to see you a little bit more for who you are, but very few can actually fully see who you are. Am I correct?
I would agree on that. What eventually comes in is that there's there's an egoic depth that we have to go to because a lot of times in the expectation of not being seen and not being met and being the density, it's we have to establish that we have an expectation of the safety that we need to receive in order to be here. And so there's the disentangling of the ego in that unhealthy way that's trying to guide us and protect us into having and reinterpreting and repatterning the ego so that it can serve us for that connection that's grounding in from that starseed consciousness here on Earth because it can finally get excited about its purpose. It can get excited about realizing why it's here and who it gets to witness and the effect that it has on the whole, which starts with having the effect on the self. And
Yeah,
so
purpose.
as we navigate that, there's a beautiful initiation that we're going through not just for ourselves, but we're also clearing timelines and merging timelines and imprinting them into a current state from multi-dimensional realms into the here and now. Um, because we're discovering that what we're amplifying here, we're amplifying in multiple dimensions. And so the discovery of that getting excited about that, understanding that there actually is a path, which is why it's so wonderful to host this show, because there's teachers along the way that hold pieces, if not full pathways, on how to discover that within ourselves. And when we have the confidence of walking along others who are in a coherent resonance, it's beautiful. And I'll finish because I want you to continue on this. But we have to know as we oscillate in that frequency at higher vibrations in the density that we have lived, yes, we'll move along across the timeline, but we have to be resigned to the fact that we won't be appealing to the masses in the hope that we find intimacy. It's going to
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
very refined field. And so we have to reinterpret what it is to be met and who it is that we need to be met by. And when we can land on that, there's a whole level of freedom and safety that really gets birthed from there.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And thank you. Like as usual, everything you said is so profound and so
Thank you.
it feels like every time you and I are together like this, just to get very like personal, and I say something and then you actually you like fill it in.
Yeah, we
So
amplify
it's like
together. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a canvas and I like painted just the center part and then you fill in everything else and make it more complete and even more receivable. And I really appreciate that.
And then you paint over it and we create new creations. And that's what we're doing together now. That's what we're doing together. So it's
And
wonderful.
I guess we can say, because what I was just going to make a point of, going off what you were saying, is that like the past eclipse seasons and a
Mm,
recent experience I had channeling the Syrians last month on Ascending is one. And by the way, I know I'm talking about channeling the Syrians. You're going to get an opportunity, if you want, to experience that live and to ask your questions of the Syrians. It's an amazing experience. We do it
mm,
once a month. And if, we have it in the packages today, but they were talking about the eclipse seasons, the eclipse season we just went through, and how change has been so
yeah.
potent for everyone, right?
Mhm.
And when we're talking about in the context of other people, like I brought up, yeah, like what I said is true, that you can't look for it, for that confirmation of your ascension in others. Yeah, what you said is true, that there is going to be, and this is important because I don't want people to lose hope and be like, oh, no one will ever understand me. No, there is going to be a refined, like, soul family
Yeah.
that will go with you. It's like going on a hike, right? And at the beginning of the hike, there's like 1,000 people, and then along the way, the hike's too hard. People are huffing and puffing, and they're going back, right? But there will be a select group that does continue, and then there'll be teachers and new friends that, like, inner
Yeah.
trails that are intersecting, and just like, hey, how's your hike going? And then all of a sudden they're a teacher, or your new best friend, or your new boyfriend, or your new girlfriend, right? So you're right. There is a refined group, but as time goes on, it becomes a more refined group, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to tolerate less and less energetically of that. The term that I've always used is vibrational dissonance.
Mm,
And it's
mhm.
like one of the most common things I've seen over the past year, especially over the past 3 months with people, is that they're in an intimate romantic relationship, and the vibrational gap or delta has gotten extreme.
Yeah.
And it gets more and more uncomfortable as time goes on. And sometimes it is leading to a 3D separation, a breakup, a divorce, right? And to your point, the last part of what you're saying is that we have to be cognizant of, if there's a person or people that we're dragging with us, and they're always energetically dragging us down,
Mhm.
it's not going to help us in the context of accelerating our ascension. It's gonna, but sometimes it's family, and family's family. You're not gonna necessarily just throw them down the river and say, I'm never going to talk. No, of course not. It's family, but there may be ways to communicate with them less, or communicate with them more from a place of your strength
Mm.
and maintaining your energetic boundaries, so that they're no longer able to kind of keep dragging you down. So it is one of the biggest things that people are going through right now. And I know a lot of people are feeling that this week because of differences in opinion about the direction of the planet, right? And perhaps some of the design of that is to help people kind of understand who they really resonate with vibrationally and who they don't. And obviously, it's not the be all end all, right? I have friends that don't agree with me, and there's people, a lot of people that don't agree with it. I don't agree with, but we're still friends. We're still friends. If you can still be great friends with someone, even though you have differences in opinion on things, right? That's a great sign. If anything they do or say is always causing you to reevaluate whether this person even should be a big part of your everyday experience of life, that's, an important question, right?
That's a
Is
sign.
this person supporting the evolution of your consciousness, or are they deterring from it,
Mhm.
right?
So Matthew, I want to get back on point because there's the Starseed conversation, and not that this isn't on points, it's all part of it. But I
Yeah.
want to get through some basic questions because, like, where am I from? How do I determine that? All that, and also I want to get, and I want to make sure we have enough time to how we can most quickly shed the layers of the human ego that's covering up the galactic self. But before we get there, again, a little more basic. So how do we know where we come from? How do we know if we're from one place, multiple places? What are some of the telltale signs, or how is it that you direct people that you work with to have a foundational understanding?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wonderful gift that I'm just so grateful for being able to carry this throughout the world. Is is being able to
Mm,
is being able to tell people. I can tell just like walking through life. Like I can go to Wegmans and just look around, and I can tell who's a starseed and who isn't. I can tell when someone's a Syrian, when someone's a Pleiadian, a Lyran, etc. So this information comes through really easily in my readings. So that's
mm.
why we definitely got to do a ton of readings tonight. I hope we have time to do a ton of readings.
Yes.
And yeah, awesome. And there's always the opportunity for people to get a reading with me through one of your packages too, which I'm so glad you're offering.
Hmm.
But so it's a gift that was given to me by whatever you want to say is above, right, to help awaken this to people. But we can talk about, for example, and what we'll do is like when I'm reading for people, I'll explain a little bit here and there of some of the common traits. For example, the Syrians like myself being super oriented towards expression. We're loud, we're gregarious, right? We're humorous. We are very much attracted to water in all ways. The dolphins and the whales of the planet are associated with us, right? To the Pleiadians, where everything is about the divine feminine, and you're very much you live this ascension out through the context of relationships and understanding relationships with others, right? To the mantis beings who are here, and mantis beings are the eccentric ones. They often don't feel super comfortable in a human body. They often are musicians and artists and the kind of out there people. So there are common traits, and there's about a dozen really common places in the Milky Way that people come from: the Syrians, the Arcturians, the Lyrans. We could talk about, as I said, the Mantis, the Blue Avians, Cassiopeans, Orion beings, Sasani, and there's more. But the dozen or so is obviously not the extent. It's possible to be a starseed that comes from literally anywhere in the Milky Way or outside the Milky Way.
Hmm.
And not to get too harped up on the scientific side, which I adore, but you can, if you trace your soul, that funnel, if you were to go the very, very top of the funnel, right above my head here, right, or probably higher, and go back to the true origins of who you are as a
Hmm.
soul, the origin of origins, you would find that you are either a planet, a star, or a galaxy.
Hmm.
And think about the energy available to you or one if you're able to draw upon the energy of an entire planet, an entire star, an entire galaxy. The term that I like is logos.
Hmm.
Logos is the soul or the consciousness of a planet, a star, a galaxy, or really any celestial object. And a logos developed not actually just from becoming a logos. A logos went on a journey through billions or trillions of years of spiritual evolution. And a logos is an amalgamation of billions of individual souls that have all merged into one, like a beehive, right? Bees are famous for acting as a group, hive mind, hive mentality, right? And all those, if you think about a beehive, there's maybe 1,000, I don't know, five, you beekeepers tell me in the chat, how many bees? 500? I don't know, right? And they all are doing their individual things and having their individual journeys, but they're all merged into this single hive, right? And so all of us at some point began as an individual soul. What is a soul? It's really simple. If I had a whiteboard and I could start writing out crazy equations, which I love doing, soul equals light. And
Hmm.
it's as simple as that. Soul equals photonic light, if you want to be more specific. A soul begins as a single photon of light. That photon then splits into two, then 4, then 16, then 256. You mathematicians can keep going with that, right? And until you develop a field, right? And your field grows as you go up the dimensional ladder or the density ladder. So it's beginning as a single photon of light. At some point, you reach such a high level of spiritual evolution where you're no longer having physical incarnations. That's enough. I'm good. I've had enough physical incarnations. Now you're having etheric incarnations. The closest we can kind of understand this is the dream world, right? And in the dream world, think about how much more is possible than in the physical world, right? And a lot of us live out things we can't, for whatever reason, practically experience in our physical reality in the dream world, right? So you're living etheric lifetimes, and you've long since transcended. There's what's called the envelope of polarity, where we could say up until you reach the upper densities of the fifth density, upper realms of the fifth density, you can experience light or dark, and no one ends up. Although the illusion is that, oh, I'm a light worker, can't I just pick light experiences only? Because the whole point is it's a polarized envelope, and you have to balance both sides. So you have to have an equal experience of light as you have an equal experience of dark. When you're starting to get towards the upper echelons of that experience, you're going to choose more light experiences as far as successive incarnations, which are going to then balance out some successive incarnations you had previously that were just dark. You get to the top of that fifth density, boom, you move back into non-polarity. You're moved into completely ethereal experiences only. And now you're merging with others like a hive into one. You retain the memories of who you were as that individual be, but now your main MO, modus operandum, is to function as the collective. Part of the continued evolution of the collective, be it a planet, a star, or a galaxy, maybe to go out and experience other collectives, other viewpoints of God. If we think about the source of everything, we could say it's God, source, etc., universe, whatever you want to call it. In another sense, the innumerable amount of individual photons, which are all, we could say, souls, are all experiencing this life from a different angle, right? So as this collective, maybe this collective's in Sirius, maybe it's in Arcturus, maybe it's in the Andromeda galaxy. You want to say, oh, what's that like in Orion's belt? I want to experience that because it'll be interesting. It's different than what I'm used to. I'm coming from living 24/7, as the Syrians always tell me and tell our group, how blissful life is just all the time. And they've long since transcended the experience of duality. You say, okay, well, I haven't experienced pain and duality and light and dark in a while. Let me go check that out. Let me go see that. Or even you're going to a light collective and it's like, oh, they live things in a different way. They look different. They have different genetics. Let me go check that out. So you're checking it out for yourself and for the collective. And this is how starseeds work. It's creating a fractal. You're a fractal from a logos that you've combined with, being a planet, a star, or a galaxy, and then you create. It's like, John, when you're doing a shamanic work and you're doing the hape and you're going, right? It's like, picture like that. You're this galaxy or you're this star and you're going, and you're sending like through a wormhole this piece of self, and this piece of self lands somewhere in the Milky Way where you intended it. And then boom, you're now in the astral field of a planet in the Lyra system, or the Sirius A or Sirius B, or the Pleiades, or wherever, the Hyades. And now you're going to enter into that astral realm and enter into the incarnation process based on whatever the rules of the incarnation, the rules of the incarnation process of that planet are. And some of us, decide to come to Earth, which I guess I should mention, because we want to experience extreme duality, extreme duality, which is not hard to find, especially this week. And it's by design. It's by design. And those of us starseeds that want to go home, you got to remind yourself, the best way is to laugh, really. Really, the best thing you can do is to take a step back and find absurdity in the
Mm.
extreme duality of this world that every year appears to be getting even more polarized rather than less, right? Find the humor in it. And that actually puts you closer to the vibration of who you actually are at the upper echelons of this funnel, because you see the absurdity of the game of light and dark. Because to you or anyone coming from the sixth density, seventh density, eighth density, etc., the game of light and dark is silly. It kind of is silly. It's like, what's the point? Why not just live all in light? Why not just live in bliss as I am? So it is kind of silly. And yet, because everything is a paradox, everything is a paradox. And always remember that it's valuable to evolution to experience it. And you can't experience it if you're existing on a fifth, sixth, or sixth, seventh density realm. You have to send a piece of self as a fractal and experience it somewhere else. It's like a study abroad.
Hmm. I want to bring a sense of hope into the experience also, because they can
You
say, oh
say
my,
hope or home?
hope
Okay.
for anybody who may not be feeling that for whatever reason, or maybe even a sense of excitement. Being excited about the changes that are taking place, knowing that they're happening for us in our evolution is amazing. I can tell you based on personal experiences, I've navigated the polarity in my own life in lots of different ways, and I'm coming at more wisdom and peace of what that polarity is demonstrating for the sake of bringing me back into balance. Um, that it's a beautiful dance that we get to do with it. We're not going to keep witnessing the polarity and experiencing more and more suffering. There's an attunement and an acclamation energetically to who we are from a galactic, angelic, spiritual perspective, who we are in relation to our connection to Gaia and the co-creation that we are with this entity and other entities that are here with us as well, and how we're bringing in an intimate understanding of the weaving that we're doing together that is allowing us to rise beyond a density of the polarity that we don't have to karmically keep experiencing anymore. I believe that we've evolved through that, that there's a compression that we have chosen to be in at this time, because the compression of that density needing to recognize itself, it doesn't have the space that it did before because we're not giving it to it. And so it has to rise to expand and transform along with us. So there's a lot of beauty that's happening right now. And yes, have an immense sense of humor about it, but also understand that we're shedding layers of belief systems, of conditioning. And I want to get into this. I want to get into a special offer. I want to take Q&A. But I think it's so important, Matthew, that we really talk about and that you emphasize how we can most quickly shed these layers of the human ego that put a veil over really coming home to that true galactic self and that spiritual self that's evolving.
Yeah, it's actually very simple. You understand where your core wound is and you
Mhm.
face it head on. It's really as simple as that. Everything else is dancing around that. You'll
Mm.
find the core wound in what triggers you the most. And what is going to trigger you the most is generally, as we started talking about earlier, family, right? Family, or, really close friends. Or, I mean, now it's a great week because everyone's feeling triggered by something, regardless of which side they find themselves on, right?
Mm.
And there are times when events in the world will be a good kind of launching point to face that core wound. But it's facing the deepest wound. What is it that our whole lives we've been covering up because it's so uncomfortable to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that deep down we feel like we've been abandoned? Is it that deep down we feel unworthy of love? Is it that deep down we feel unworthy of good things, nice things, friendliness, compassion? Is it deep down we believe we're like evil, or we've sinned, or those that grew up in like a religious context, like just getting into the absolute depths. And this is Scorpio season, and this is the time to do this sort of stuff and go in this direction. That's the quickest way to shedding the layers. And yes, as you shed the layers, you will see things in a different way. That being said, be human. Still, I'm just a guy. I really am just a dude. I'm just a dude. And I had a client tell me that a couple weeks ago, like, the reason I signed up for all your stuff is because you're just a dude. I'm like, I am. I'm just a guy. Like, I mean, I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna relax and watch some hockey that I would be watching if I wasn't with you, John. I'd be hanging back on my laptop working, watching hockey. I'm just a guy. I like things in the world, right? But at the same time, I'm not just a guy. At the same time, I'm here serving a really valuable role. And so finding that purpose, facing the core wound, and then being human too. And being human, it's okay to have opinions. Don't shy away from having opinions. It's an intense time. Have opinions, but can you also sit back and just say, well, it must be meant to be for one reason or another? Must be meant to be, right? And can you sit back and laugh at the absurdity of it all, right? And finding that balance between seeing things from that higher perspective and being human. But yeah, the more you face the wounds within, I think the more we're able to integrate that. Because look at the masters, okay? I've been very blessed, just so blessed to make friends with this very famous Indian guru. I met him randomly at a expo we were speaking at in Denver last year, and God, the guy invited me to his house in New York, and it just took me in, and he's the most high vibrational person I've ever been around. You can feel just being 10 yards away how powerful is and pleasant and peaceful his vibration is, and how ascended he really is. And yet he's a guy. He's funny. He's got such a personality. He's got opinions. Every Indian guru is like that, aren't they? They're funny, right? They're so, look at any Indian, read Autobiography of a Yogi, right? They're funny and they have a personality. And actually what's happening as we navigate this road between the higher aspects of self and the spiritual self and the more human self, we're actually becoming the personality of the soul. We're moving. So I don't look at it. I understand. I completely respect everything you're saying and what other people say on this, but I don't look at it as the death of the soul. I look at it as the death of the ego. I mean, I don't look at it as,
No,
as
the
the
ego's
death
not
of the
dying.
ego.
The ego's not dying at all.
I look at it as the transition of the ego from the human ego, and yeah, maybe parts of that dying, to the I use personality as a better term. The transition from the human personality to the soul's personality. Like I look at aspects of my personality in my teens and 20s. I was an asshole in a lot of ways. I was arrogant. Like this outgoing Leo part, the Leo ascendant, it was abrasive a lot of times. People saw me as arrogant, but that's moved from there into being fun, being the guy that people feel comfortable coming in and receiving that acceptance and love and making things digestible by making them fun and humorous and being able to get my work out to audiences that maybe others don't, because I am very relatable, right? So that's what it is. It's a transition from the human personality to the soul's personality.
Hmm. Yeah, the ego isn't dying. The ego is getting new instructions from us as we grow and learn, and we're willing to be with the density, those dark places within ourselves, and not run away from them. And also not try to justify them by saying, "Oh, the world's going through it. It's okay. It'll change." It's like, no, we really have to give ourselves the presence that is required to transform the energies, to alchemize them in ways, and we can't run from them. And it does take being human. We there's a tendency to be sacrificial in our energies,
Yeah.
um, or see things from a higher place to make excuses for injustices that we may suffer in our own life. And no, the being human part, it's we're being called up and we're being called within ourselves. And I love
That's
that you talk
John,
about
that's the name of my company. You are a divine human.
that. Beautiful, right? It's
Both.
on point.
And that
Um,
that was downloaded to me, when I was in Brazil, which was what, almost 10 years ago now, as the new iteration of my expression in the
hmm.
world. And in this moment, I kind of fully understood it.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense now, right? It's like, oh, even more. We get more and more information. Hey, Matthew, I want to get into Q&A. We have to get into your special offer.
Yeah,
Y'all, the special
absolutely.
offer with Matthew, we're going to go through it in a minute. There's an opportunity for a one-on-one, what he's offering, and to have these starseed conversations to awaken the channeling that's coming in, that he does also, which is just absolutely amazing. It's fantastic opportunity. But I want to go to Q&A first. And Adele, I want to start with you. If you can unmute your microphone, please.
Hello, gentlemen. It's a
Hello.
it's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight because I love this conversation.
Mm,
And more importantly, like I'm in the tornado of it all, right?
Yeah.
Like ascending easily, but then being yanked so hard back into third dimension that it's like that hurt. Ouch.
Yeah.
But more importantly, can you figure out the core wound? Like, or I don't even know if that's my question. It's it's moving forward.
Where does like your mother, your mother's side of the family, right?
Yeah.
What is it that they always, would you say, what are you here as an ascending being to transmute for that side of the family?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question. Because it can be pain, it can be hurt, it can be
Yeah.
abuse, it can be lack, it can be all of it.
Well, it's all of it. It's all of it. So you're here. If you look at, like, okay, that's what they were able to express, because we can only, and when I say we, putting myself in the shoes of anyone for a moment, we can only be who we can be in any moment based on what we know, right?
Okay.
The one of the key markers of ascension is wisdom, right? You could even argue that, as in Todd Devaney's book 3, he mentioned that wisdom is the indication of ascension, right? So ultimately, we're here to learn what our ancestors couldn't, or what they only got a partial, incomplete understanding of, right? And then we're here to transform, if we think about polarity. So the ways in which your mom wasn't able to express herself fully through her throat chakra, allowed herself maybe to be stepped on, to be even abused, God forbid, right? The ways in which your mom held herself kind of small, kept herself small, and didn't want to step on toes or become too big in the world.
Yeah.
You're here to I talked about that polarity, go to the other side completely, right? So the core wound, if I would have to put into a sentence, is that I'm not capable of being who I'm really supposed to be.
That's so dead on, because it's like the saying of don't step on your britches, like you're getting too big, keep
Yeah,
small. And I'm
yeah,
like, no, like I don't know if everyone else has felt it, but it's been like a personal tornado this last week. And I'm just like, let the cards fall. We're ready to grow and expand and love, and just like, who cares who's the figurehead? Like, I really don't care, because as individuals, we're choosing our path regardless of where all the cards fell.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you're the confirmation of, yeah, britches are going to be stepped on because it's time to rise.
Now, one thing I want to add is that like part of your star origins is from Orion.
Okay.
And this is something that this is a theme in one way or another that all Orion starseeds work through in some way in the human body, is this fear of being attacked, of being put down, of being humiliated, of being ostracized or kicked out of safety, kicked out of the nest. Like if a bird rejected one of its God forbid, rejected one of its, kids, right?
Yeah.
And it's all of those things, right? Why? Because you went through the experience in Orion's belt of your planet getting sadistically taken over by draconian beings who sadistically manipulated your minds through frequencies and disinformation and just killed people, raped people, just caused immense destruction, culled people who wanted to live into their army and then kind of, mind molded them to think exactly as they did. Like, really, the worst evil possible in the galaxy happened in Orion's belt. So, Orion starseeds, when we come to Earth, we have specific lifetimes where we experience evil, and on both sides. We have lifetimes where we experience being subject to evil, and we have lifetimes where we experience being evil, all of us, myself included.
Yeah.
And that's why in the Ascension lifetime, we really have a keen sense a lot of times of evil out there, or evil that people that enter into our field at some point will always have to deal with narcissists at some point in our experience. And if we look back, usually your one parent at least also dealt with narcissists, right? And the reflection of that is helping us to understand on a very deep karmic level just the experience of evil, of polarity, because the Orion experience was so traumatic that we all ended up dead eventually, whether it was from our planet exploding or from our planet getting, as I said, sadistically taken over, and we were used as like a slave race for a while. But eventually we died, and it was so traumatic that the Pleiadians were there to kind of be the rescuers of our, well, I don't want to use that word, but they were there to be of assistance to our souls. And one of the options given was to come to Earth, because Earth has a vibrational resonance with Orion, because it's such a deeply polarized low third density experience. So a lot of us said, okay, we'll do that. I'm going to go to Earth, and you experience the end of Lemuria, the great floods, the explosions, the nuclear war that was, again, re-experiencing this intense trauma. You had lives where you were hung because you were a witch, or your head was lopped off because you were a political dissident, or you were stabbed in the back, you were betrayed, like the worst possible stuff. And then you had a life or two of being a cult leader or being a manipulator or a narcissist, right? And it's both sides. And then the alchemy in this life is about finding your truest voice, that throat chakra becoming fully open,
Okay.
and stepping into your most powerful possible. And that word power is so important for Orion starseeds. What is your relationship with power, right? And just stepping into the most powerful expression of yourself as a service worker. And you're a healer, you're a change maker, but
Yeah.
you got to get bigger, and you got to face all the fears within that come along for the ride with that.
Well, just today I'm trying to build my intuitive circle, and it's like that inner critic is going, "How dare you? How dare you?" And I'm like, "Shut up." Like,
Yeah, you
you're
may want to
not
get into
welcome.
the special offer. We're gonna go through it in a little bit, and
Okay.
Matthew can help you in session with that and help you with
Yeah,
some.
and a private session would be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you
we'll get
so
into special
much.
offer in a little bit. Adele, thank you so much, and blessings
Thanks.
too. I want to get into special offer. Chris, put the link in the chat box. Before we go there, though, I want to call on Pat, and we'll keep Pat's reading shorter, so they have time for a couple more things that want to come in as well.
Thank you, Matthew. It's
Hi
wonderful
there.
to be here. I'd like to know what my star family is, where I came from.
Absolutely. So you're Syrian, you're Pleiadian, you're Lyran. The Lyrans in particular, you're one of the cat, like the ones that look more like cats.
Wow.
Some Lyran, sex or species, whatever term you want to use, like are more human looking, maybe with some fur around them. Some are like have cat faces or lion faces and lion heads. Lyran starseeds on this planet. If you're a Lyran starseed, you probably travel a lot or traveled a lot. You like to experience different cultures. You're very worldly. You like to experience different cuisines, languages, right? So Lyran, Syrian, as I said, attracted to water. The Syrians are the ones that work with the crystals. Also, as I said,
love water. Yeah.
yep, humor, fun. Pleiades it's a divine feminine. It could, come as interior design, dance, fashion, art. All the artists are Pleiadian. And I think I got all of them. Orion as well, which I talked about. Originally, your soul coming from the Blue Avian too, Blue Avian, and Blue Avian starseeds have an affinity and a fascination with birds, with the air, with flight. It feels like, oh my God, it would be so freeing and so much fun to be a bird. You like to listen to them talk.
I love birds.
You like to feed them, right? Get the bird feeders going.
Yeah, I did when I was out west. I had bird feeders on my porch, and I forget the name of the bird. It was a tiny one that used to come flying at me. I can't remember the name. I kind of lost it.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so Blue Avian, Syrian, Orion, Pleiadian, Lyran, originally coming from the Andromeda galaxy. So if we
That's
come
what
from
I
the
felt too, very close
Yeah.
to the Andromedans. Yeah.
And if we come from the Andromeda galaxy, John, and everyone, the Andromeda galaxy is the big sister galaxy to the Milky Way.
Okay.
NASA knows this. Our science knows this, right? The Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy are on this really slow collision course. And one day they'll become a super galaxy. I talked about the logos, the conscious of the Milky Way, the conscious of the Andromeda galaxy. Someday the next steps up for those consciousnesses are to combine into the super galaxy. So the Andromeda galaxy has long since transcended duality. So as Andromedan beings, a lot of times we look at the Milky Way, and again, as I said before, we want to experience polarity. We want to experience different lenses, different ways of experiencing life, and we want to be of service. So we go on a journey, and this journey can last billions of years from the perspective of Earth through the Milky Way. A lot of times we have different stops. I call this the galactic traveler. And if you are the galactic traveler, any of you watching this, you are going to naturally feel resonance with more than one group. And that's one of the biggest questions that I get that people email me about or ask on these calls is like, can I be from more than one group? And the answer is yes. And actually, more often than not, people are from more than one group. I'm from 4, right? I just named like 5 or 6 that you're from, right?
Wow.
So it's the galactic traveler archetype is coming from the Andromeda galaxy, and kind of you can think of it as taking a tour
Mm-hmm.
of the Milky Way, and at some point you're on Earth. So thank you,
Awesome.
Pat.
Thank you. I'm so
All right,
grateful.
Pat, thank you.
Thank you for
So
selecting me.
all this is awesome. And what do we do with it, right? We go into it, and let's go into the special offer because Matthew has prepared amazing opportunities to learn different aspects of what it is that we can piece these things together. It's like, how do we carry this information forward? So Matthew, if you would, will you guide us through where everybody's going to receive by diving in?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, John. And thank you for offering this. I really appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to be here and give this opportunity to your audience. It's just the feedback has been so incredible from the experiences people have been having, the healings people have been having from being involved in the Ascending as One group. We talked before, right? And it's not something we even intended on getting it. Well, you and I, we never have a plan for these
No, we
these
don't.
chats, which I love because that's how I am. I never have a plan. I just want to see what comes through. But we talked about like along the way, finding that soul tribe, or that soul tribe finding us is probably more accurate, right? And my Ascending as One program, one of the greatest parts of it is it's created opportunities for that to happen for people that join in and do the weekly calls. You're going to get to do a 3-hour plus live call on Zoom with myself and people from all around the world beginning in December. And it's an incredible topic each week, different topic each week. We do astrology work as well. We barely got into astrology today. We've gotten more into it on other times I've been on BTL. But astrology is one of my absolute passions. I am an intuitive astrologer. And the first hour, we go into the macro astrology of what's going on in the world. Why are things happening as they are? What is Pluto doing? What is the North Node doing? What are Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter doing? And then we go into the inner planets and actually help you plan out your week day to day by understanding what the planets are doing for the week to come. Then in the second and third hours, we go into a really incredible topic for each week. December 1st, understand the human energy field. Just as we have a physical anatomy, we have an energetic anatomy. I'm going to teach you all about the energetic anatomy, even about chakras you may not know about. Healing from grief. That's going to be a really, part of me is looking forward to, part of me isn't. It's going to be a really intense, really a lot of tears shed. Myself and everyone that's on there. If you've lost someone the past year or the past 2 years, or it doesn't matter when. It's just if you lost someone and you want to really understand the spiritual side of it, who they are to you now that they're in spirit, and you want to really get to kind of the cores of the wounds that you're still carrying with you, this is going to be probably one of the most impactful Ascending as One classes I've ever done out of the nearly 100 of them I've done. Astrology 101, you want to learn astrology? Wait before you go spend thousands on a full-length astrology course. Do this for free, part of the package, right? And you're going to get to learn the basics of what you need to know to read a natal chart. By the end of the call, you will know how to read your chart or read anyone's chart. And then you can go ahead and just practice from there and become a better astrologer. Stepping into your highest timeline for 2025, okay? We're going to do a whole thing. You'll see in the background, I'll have behind me a whole table with candles and crystal grids, and we're going to do like a magical energetic activation for the group to really set you on the highest possible, energetic path for your 2025. And we're going to also, before that, work through leaving a lot of the karmic blocks and a lot of the energetic obstacles behind, leaving them in the rearview mirror in 2024 so you can step into your highest timeline for 2025 and beyond. Ascension 101 on January 12th. I'm going to go over the energetics, the quantum physics of Ascension, which I touched on a little bit in this call, but I'm going to go really in depth with that. And then healing your root chakra. So many of us, especially light workers, the number one chakra that we struggle with is actually the root. we struggle feeling or being fully anchored and grounded in the body. That's why a lot of us suffer from health issues. That's why a lot of us suffer from an overactive monkey mind. That's why a lot of us suffer with not being able to physically do the things we would like to do, is because our root chakra is damaged. So we're going to actually work and do some powerful energy healing in this call to heal the root chakra. All the calls, not only do they include the astrology portion, which a lot of people love, and a lot of people that aren't super into astrology, they find themselves getting like hooked on astrology just from doing the Ascending as One calls. And by the way, they're long calls, or 3.5 hours. If you don't want to stay for the whole call, you can watch the recording or just do portions. You can say, all right, I just want to do the astrology portion, or I just want to do the healing your root chakra portion. It's totally fine. Drop in and drop out as you desire. And we always do a tapping session as well towards the end of each call. Sometimes these are 20, 30-minute, 40-minute tapping sessions, and they're really intense and powerful. And at the end, people are like, whoa, I feel great. So these calls, they're so robust. This is the most comprehensive program I've ever created in my career. It's the program by far I'm most proud of in my career. And it's not only about the healing, and I can think of so many amazing testimonials I've received from people about the healing they've gotten just from being a part of these calls, but it's about the community. There's a Telegram group that you can join. And I love when people make friends. It happens all the time. And they end up staying friends long after they're done with whatever months of Ascending as One they registered for. And it's a magnet to draw in that soul tribe as well. You're also going to get a bunch of my amazing recorded content. You're going to get Intro to Mediumship, which literally, again, before you go out and spend thousands on a mentor, do this. Okay, try it. And I guarantee you that if you follow the protocol that I give, you can do mediumship. Just follow the protocol. Okay. I make it really easy in these classes. I give you the protocol, and then it's up to you after that to go on and practice as you will. Connecting with Lemuria, connecting with Atlantis. These are really important calls, especially for Orion starseeds, because we're going to go, we take an astral journey in those, and you re-experience what Lemuria was like. And sometimes some of you will re-experience the end of Lemuria and the trauma of that. You re-experience what Atlantis was like. And you also will understand who you were. You as an individual soul in Lemuria and or Atlantis. All starseeds, this was the topic of, I think, our last call in June, right, John? All starseeds were in Lemuria and or Atlantis. Clearing your inner blocks, activate your maximum financial abundance. Super important for this unknown era we're entering into now. No matter what happens in the outside world, we're always able to create our own world of abundance, and financially as well. So that's clearing blocks. So that's all package A. If you want to get a private reading, do package B. Okay, you're going to get a private reading with me, and I have availability really soon, actually. My calendar, but yeah, only 50 spots available. Thank you for highlighting that. So it's December is going to get filled up like that probably by tomorrow, and then we'll go into booking for January. But you get a private session with me. My private sessions are really great. I mean, I really believe that my psychic work is it's an extremely high level, and I can tell you anything. You can ask me about where you're from in the stars. You can ask me about your past lives. You can ask me about the soul contract with anyone, a lover, a family member. You can ask me about what career is meant for you. You can ask me for, assistance from spirit in helping you, figure out where to go with your career, where to go as far as moving. I'll answer any questions. It's wide open, right? And you'll see that I work really quickly. I talk fast like a New Yorker during those calls. And you're going to get exactly all the information that you're seeking from doing a reading, especially those of you that are really fascinated by this whole starseed topic and understanding your core wound and understanding your purpose. The private sessions are such an accelerant. So get on board with the private session. I don't always offer these, and we do have a limit, and they'll be sold out perhaps by tomorrow, if not very, very soon. You also get the VIP Ascending as One calls with the Syrian channeling I talked about. So you're going to get to experience watching me go into a trance channel. You'll see me transform, and I'm channeling through a group of Syrians. There's 5 of them, and they kind of speak as one voice through me. And the great thing is that you can ask your questions. So, the Zoom calls, there's a lot of people on the Zoom calls, but I'm constantly opening my eyes and I'm reading the questions in the chat. And whichever questions the Syrians tell me to address to them, I out loud speak the question, and then they answer it. And it's so cool. I mean, you literally have an opportunity to speak to extraterrestrials on these calls. The topic of December is the winter solstice group activation, which is one of my favorite things. We do shamanic drumming. Actually, John was on one of the recent settings, one calls where we did shamanic drumming, and we do a whole ceremony to welcome back the sun, because the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere is about welcoming back the Sun King. As every day after that, the days get longer. And then we're going to do an overview of ET races in January. And I'm going to go really in depth into all the different ETs that interact with Earth and what they're doing. Like, are they helping Earth? Are they not helping Earth? Are they causing harm to Earth? And then also helping every single person on that call to understand for sure where you're from and what the common traits are. So you can identify, like, oh, I think my sister is also a Pleiadian, or I think my dad is also, a Blue Avian, right? You'll really understand kind of the nuances of the different groups on that call. And then you also get, other recorded content, which is great. You get the, just go down a little bit, Chris, thank you. Yeah. Witchcraft and Magic 101. As some of you may know, I'm a witch. A good witch, but I'm a witch, and I will teach you. I see people smiling at that, but it's true. And I will teach you in that class how to do witchcraft, white witchcraft. And you will know by the end how to do it safely and effectively. And that safely and effectively is key, because it's powerful stuff you're playing with when you're doing witchcraft. It's powerful stuff. I'm teaching you how to do mainly candle magic, candle and moon magic mainly, but also teach just some other tidbits as well. How to use the 12 rays of creator's energy. This is one of my favorite ones I ever did. Not a lot of people know about the 12 rays. They're different than the 7 colors of the rainbow, but they're 12 rays of God's energy that will appear in different colors, and you can learn how to actually use them. And you can consciously use them through meditation, or when you're doing manifestation writing or making a vision board or whatever. You can then use the specific ray colors, and it will accelerate to an exponential rate what you're trying to create. So learning the 12 rays of creator's energy is great. And Chris, if you don't mind, just go down a little bit more for people. Understanding and seeing your past lives, you actually get to do a mini past life regression in that. And then for those of you that are like, all right, it's time. I want to do what John's doing. I want to do what Matt's doing. I want to do this full time. I don't want to just dabble anymore. I'm going to teach you all the secrets that have helped me to make this into a successful full-time career. And that's the spiritual entrepreneurship class, item 11, Chris. Yep, how to be a successful spiritual entrepreneur. So these packages are really robust. Both of them, you get to join in on the 8 or 6 for package A, or 8 for package B. Those are 3.5 hour live ascending as one calls. If you can't make them, they're all 4:15 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. But if you can't make the live call, don't worry about it. You can stream the recording right after. I send out a replay link right after. You can download the file if you prefer. There's notes to download as well. And just even if you pick and choose, a lot of times people, they get package B because they want to do the private session, and they do 2 or 3 of the live calls, and they watch 2 or 3 of the recorded content. I think that's a great way to go about it. Like, go through the package. If you want the private session, do package B. And do it right away, as I said, because I can only offer 50 because of my availability at this time. Might be sold out by tonight or tomorrow. If not, it'll be very soon. So get on the schedule for December. Okay, you can get on the schedule for the first week of December, I believe, if you book right now. And if you're lukewarm about the package B, do package A. You'll get to do the live group calls.
Yeah, great opportunities, y'all, to work with Matthew in this way. The depth of what he's sharing, and his classes are fun also. So
they are fun. I do make them very fun. Yeah,
you do.
I always hated in school the boring teachers. Like, I would always literally fall asleep. Who do I remember from high school? I remember the fun goofy, eccentric physics, AP physics teacher, and the fun, goofy, eccentric AP economics teachers, right? So I do make the Ascending as One calls a lot of fun. I do.
Well, y'all, the link for the special offers, it's in the chat box. Y'all click on that. If you don't find the link for whatever reason, just go to beyondtheordinaryshow.com/Matthew 34, Matthew and the number 34, and it'll take you to that same special offer page. All right, Matthew, it's like we're eating up time really quickly today, but I want to get into a little more Q&A. And Lara, I want to go to you first. Welcome to the call.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was waiting for the prompt to unmute.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you, John. My question was, of course, I'd like to know what my Starseed base is, but also I'm really struggling with being human, being in a human body. And
do you have physical pain? And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, chronic pain. I have herniated discs. So I'm
do
not
you
very
have trouble fitting in, would you say?
Yes, always.
And it's so common for starseeds. Like at the very, very depths of your unconscious mind, a big part of the expression of the physical pain is that it's like not feeling accepted on a very deep level. And this is an irony. It's an irony. It's something I've been navigating over the past month too. Is that the acceptance, like I said before, you can't find it in others. You have to create it within. And in order to actually fully reach that level of divine acceptance of self, of all aspects of self, you have to face all aspects of the shadow of the self. The shadow can be fears. It can be resentments that are being held deep within you. It could be jealousy. It could be anger. Still, it's something that happened in your past. And it's probably all of those, right, to some extent. The more head on you face that, facing it through doing spiritual work in groups or one-on-one, going into community, whether it's online or in person, and ideally both, where you connect with others that are on the same path. Like this show is such a great start. I mean, God, this show, as I've told John personally, I mean, this was a big part of getting me through my dark night of the soul in Brazil in 2016. And like just getting me to becoming who I am was this show. I used to listen to this show every night in 2016, 2017 when I was in Brazil. And it was so helpful. And, and then now here I am on it, just weird, but all meant to be. But it's facing that shadow. You're a mantis, you're an Orion starseed, you're a Sirian, and you're a Lyran. And you come from galaxy. It's a galaxy in the Gemini part of the sky. It's like to NASA or the ISO. It's one of the M galaxies. I can't tell you which number. I think it could be M67. But if M67 is in the Gemini part of the sky, that's it. If not, usually when I do the start sessions, I have a map over here, and I can actually look. But I'm not at my normal locale tonight, so I don't have it. But so you're from a galaxy that's not the Andromeda Galaxy. It's stopping the Andromeda Galaxy. First incarnations were in Lyra, and then you came to Earth you were in the Pleiades as well. You came to Earth from the Pleiades, but Orion and Sirius were before that. And the Mantis piece is big because the Mantis piece is that part that has had trouble feeling accepted. All Mantis starseeds experience back issues or nerve issues or spinal issues or neck issues or some sort of structural issues, because think about it, you're like on a level, talking about that funnel, the higher echelons of the funnel of who you are is this 9.5 foot tall praying mantis. And you're trying to fit into this little human body, right? So you can see why, like I've had a ton of mantis starseeds that they've always had scoliosis, or they've always had herniated discs or cervical issues or whatever. It's just a part of the game.
Mm.
It doesn't mean you're bound to it. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be free of pain. You will, as you ascend in frequency. What's important, most important, is that you have a true divine union partnership. If you have it now, then there's something about it that needs to be repaired. If it's not the right person now, or you're single now, then it's in the future, and that'll be ironically what truly deeply heals you. Yet at the same time, it's up to you to fully face every part of yourself and to fully accept every part of yourself. And with that, accepting the pain, which is not easy at all. And I get it, because I have dealt with a lot of health stuff in this life too. And it's not easy, but it's the only way that actually works. And actually, that goes for anything in our life that is uncomfortable. The only way that actually works is facing it head on, and on some level accepting, all right, this is what it's meant to be for now. What am I meant to learn from it? What am I meant to do with it? Where am I meant to go with it? And John, if you want to even add on to that, I know this is a big part of your work, you know.
Oh, it's just yeah, all I can really share on this, again, it's a deep conversation, but the finding the hope and finding connection and reestablishing connection.
Yeah.
And love, I hate to say this. I don't hate to say this because I know it's part of the journey, but we do have to go in deep with relationship with the pain as it comes through. And first hate it and kick and scream at it, and then make peace with it. They say make peace with it, but you have to go through the alchemy of all of it, and it can't be avoided. And you're not wrong for being angry and hopeless and sad and everything that goes along with it, and rageful. Please be rageful as well. And be aware in your heart and in your light that you're clearing timelines, not just for yourself, but for ancestry, for collective as well. And understand your experience right now as a catalyst that you're building compassion in a way that you haven't been able to in multiple lifetimes, so that you can understand and guide a plight of humanity that's ready to transcend the suffering of the soul that you're unfortunately experiencing in physical form. It's a deep, deep, deep conversation, sister. I see you. I have so much compassion for you, and I have a tremendous amount of hope for you as well. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My blessings to you. I see you.
Thank you.
I just want to answer a real quick question from B. Sidereal or Western astrology? Western. I teach and use Western.
Mm.
So in the Ascendings 1 classes and the Astrology 101, I am teaching you Western astrology.
Yeah, Lara, come back and listen to the replay, Lara. The words are conveying one thing, the energy that you're receiving and opening up to, it's coming in at multiple layers. And you recognize that beacon call from that place that we're speaking from. You know it really well. So sit with it. And a lot of y'all recognize it here as well. And I want to speak directly into it and speak directly into Matthew's transmission in that way as well. Y'all, and you haven't heard me, if you've listened to the show, you haven't heard me speak into this very often, if at all. But it's time that we own these parts of ourselves, that we allow it in, that we recognize it, and that we share it with open hearts and minds, because we're ready to receive it. And it's time that we receive that first and foremost for ourselves, that recognition that, yes, we know who we are, but then the gift of knowing that so that others can benefit from it as well is tremendous.
John, let me add some real quick.
Yeah.
Those things that you have to face, how do you know what they are? They keep banging on your door constantly, no matter what. And for those of us that physical pain is a part of that, your soul needed for you to get to the depths of healing this karma and this trauma that's carried over on a deep cellular level from other lifetimes. Because any of us with chronic pain, chronic illness, there was some sort of there's a damage done in other lifetimes to the physical vessel. And that damage is carried over into this lifetime. It doesn't go away. You know, when you die because you were, shot in the lower back from an arrow on a horse and that ended your life, that doesn't go away. What happens is when you're in the Ascension lifetime, you end up with a herniated disc right there. Okay. Or you were, God forbid, you had your head lopped off, like happened to me. Well, you end up with some sort of neurological stuff that you got to navigate, right? And this is what it is. So when there's physical stuff, your soul is saying you have to address this no matter what. And yeah, you're going to go kicking and screaming. Some people go kicking and screaming their whole lives. They don't really get it.
Yeah.
We're on the Ascension path. The sooner we get it, and what is the message? What is the learning? And who is this trying to shape me into through this pressure? Bringing it back to how we started the call, right? How is this pressure, whether it's in my relationships or in my work or this anxiety in my mind or this physical pain or all of it, right? Who is it trying to mold me, sculpt me into? That's the point. And that's how you know what to do with it.
Well, what's beautiful also, Lara, everybody else, is that we're not doing this alone. We have each other. We're guiding each other back home. And Lara and everybody else that this may resonate with as well, I have to say this, just encourage you. Surrender to hopelessness. Let it kill you. Let it completely destroy you. And F you to hopelessness as well. And rage at it and say, hell no, you're not taking me. Neither you're going to die or I'm going to die. But someone isn't going to know itself in the way that it has known itself after we're done. And I can guarantee you that it'll be you. But it's a trial. Yeah.
John, just important to add from my perspective, I know this to be true. Your soul will never intend to literally push you over the edge.
Agreed.
Anything you're going through, your soul has intended to push you to the edge.
Yes.
You might feel your toes over the edge. You might think some days like, geez, I don't want to be here. But your soul would never want you to. Your soul is only pushing you to an edge to test you in the most profound possible way.
Yeah.
And when you face that, like you're saying, that's where you find yourself getting it. And it's not always like, ironically, the pain for people experiencing physical pain might, what are you trying to do? You're trying to get out of pain. You're watching this, or you're doing private sessions, or you're going to chiropractor because you want to get out of pain. It's natural, right? But the irony is that what you'll find is not necessarily at first the relief of pain, but you'll find the insight and the wisdom and the releasing, the letting go of the karmic shit that you need to let go of. And then the physical body is generally a little bit behind. But as you keep going, the physical body starts to catch up. And that's when you start to feel better.
You have a different relationship and perspective of what the pain is. It's immense.
Well, not just that, but also when you clear the stuff out on an energetic level, because every physical issue, and there's no exceptions to this, there's an underlying metaphysical, we could call it template, web, holding that into place. It comes from past lives. It comes from sometimes experiences, like I said, in Orion's belt, like even off planet. And when you clear that karma, when you clear that stuff energetically, there may not be anything holding the physical issue in place anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then it might just take a few little tinkering of your lifestyle, where you're going, you know, having a strong purpose, knowing who you are, and yeah, maybe some physical interventions along the way. But if there's nothing holding the illness in place, there's nothing holding the illness in place.
Mm-hmm.
So those of us that are wise enough to address the underlying causes, we generally will get through things a little faster. But it all, of course, is dependent on the soul's plan and making sure you get
Right.
the
Soul's
lessons
blueprint.
along the way.
Yep.
You won't be able to just, like, no healer, if in my belief, in my experience of life, no healer will be able to remove any physical issue for you that you're not ready on a soul level to ever remove, because you didn't fully get the lesson yet. But you do fully get the lesson, and then you do go for a healing or an ayahuasca session or whatever, and it never comes back because you got the deeper lesson. So
The blueprint, amazing. Laura, thank you so much for your question, for coming in. Y'all, the special offer of Matthew, it's take advantage of it. The private session, the activation calls, the steering channelings, all of the different live calls along the way.
and John, like, people that are watching our interaction with Lara, and they're like, well, I wish I knew what the lesson was here, because, and especially when you're in pain, the pain is so overwhelming and distracting. It's hard to understand why this is here. And like you said before, it's okay to lean on community. And I've been doing this for a decade and a half, is helping people to figure out the why. That's one of my primary roles. Is you ask me any question and I'll tell you why on a soul level this is happening and what you need to do with it. What is the lesson here? So if you're confused, do package B, ask me. I'm happy to help.
Go deeper. And again, y'all, the special offer, it's in the chat box. Click on that. We'll be running the replay for the rest of the week into the weekend. So come back and access it again. And again, tune into the resonance and even feel into each other, because we're all raising in frequency, y'all. And as you feel more into communities when we gather in this place, you can kind of feel an upliftment. I don't kind of feel it. I absolutely feel it. But pay attention. Pay attention how you feel during it, after it, what inspires you, what questions may come through, and hold those in your heart as new standards that you're ready to activate within yourself and in your life. So it's amazing.
John, can we do one more reading? I have a feeling it's going to be impactful if we do.
Let's do another reading, and that'll be the last. I want to keep this one to 5 minutes because I have to run off to another appointment.
Yeah, I felt you had to go, but I feel we're supposed to do one more, a quick one.
Is there someone you want to call on?
No, I'll use your intuition.
Bella Marie, welcome.
Hello, there you are.
Oh.
Just turn on. There we go. Hi.
Hey, thank you, John, so much for your program, for all you do for so many years. And thank you also, Matthew, John.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hopefully, my easy question, I hope, is, Matthew, can you tell me what race, a skin color of green with like
Syrian.
purple?
Syrian.
Oh,
A planet in the Sirius B. An aquatic being. What you've tapped into is an aquatic being. Green with there's like pinkish streaks. Almost looks like looks very non-human, right? But very much geared towards swimming, but can also live on land. So Sirius B, and I'm from Sirius B. A lot of the Sirius B planets are water planets. And so this is a Syrian being you're tapping into, right? And the biggest thing you can do is to just tap into the water, and especially when you feel emotional, to go in the water. And for anyone who thinks they might be a Syrian starseed, the water is your healing womb, and work with the water. And I also I feel you're meant to be a powerful healer of the feminine, and that you've had some rough relationships with the masculine in this life, and it's all alchemizing into being a teacher and an energetic transmitter for the feminine. And it's meant to open your heart to a level that's you've never even encountered before, and a love and appreciation for all that you haven't reached to. But you tend to kind of oscillate out of your body a bit because this world is so dense and so treacherous, and you need to come back fully into the root for you to be truly of service. Because you're meant to have a big role, bigger than you have now, way bigger. But there's a lot of 3D stuff that's precluding that. Some of it you have to face, some of it you have to separate from, and you may even know what I'm talking about. And to allow yourself to be more energetically light and free to be who you're meant to be. And really bringing that Syrian self in. Like me, when I'm on these calls with you guys, with John, I'm being the Syrian self, like I talked about at the beginning. I'm being the upper parts of this funnel. That part is coming down through the bottom of the funnel. And you as a Syrian as well, you're meant to be an awakener and a healer in a much more powerful way than you have been. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Do you remember Dax from one of the Star Trek, I think? Do you remember? You know, where she had like the that's
they have like dimples, like your group,
like large,
they have dimples, and it's this turquoise green, and it looks like they're aquatic beings is why, and everything is geared. There's like gills here.
Okay,
that's who you're seeing.
And is that also blue and purple?
There's like parts of it. It'll be like greenish. It just like everyone looks different on our planet. Like each being will have different shades, but it's not monochromatic. There's different shades in each. But thank you, and John and us. We have to wrap up, but I hope that was helpful.
Bella,
and let's do a private session if you want to go deeper, please.
Yeah, get a reading and go deeper into it. So because there's a lot of wisdom in it when you can start getting the resonant tone, getting the flavor, and start, if you will, translating that frequency language within yourself. Things do activate within. It's quite powerful. So I encourage it for you.
Can I just
for everybody on the call? And Bella, thank you for coming on. We'll meet you. And Matthew, as we're ending, what were you going to say?
Well, Adele asked a really important question that I always want to make sure I address. How does that relate to suicide? That's what I'm talking about.
That's a long conversation, yeah.
No, but just briefly, the soul will never intend to push someone over the edge unless it was a part of the plan to assist others in their journey. But if you're on the conscious ascension path, the soul will never push you over the edge. Only so you want to keep going no matter what in this life. It's very important because of me losing someone to that I'm an advocate for that.
Well, and quickly also, I want to address, if thoughts ever come up, I'm in so much pain, I don't want to be here, I'm from somewhere else and I don't get it, I don't want to be here, I'd rather just extinguish my lights. No, also come into conscious awareness that you're probably also reconciling a past lifetime where that could have been an alternative and you're choosing something different here. You've gone through this experience, like you've come so far along, it's like you're not going to end it now so you can go repeat it all over again.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing, but be aware. Be aware that sometimes is just a reconciliation of a previous choice that doesn't exist in this timeline now. But it's like, oh, it's like, that's not me anymore. That's not true. How am I showing up in my mastery with all this qualified accumulated wisdom and energy? And how am I forging a new path for myself and for humanity, which is exactly what's happening. So I want to give,
and always just be looking and listening for your loved ones, because it is a real thing. As I said, it's something that I lost someone to, and it has profoundly affected me. And we just always want to be there for people when they're at that edge. Don't ever abandon someone at that edge, you know.
Don't make light of it. Don't make excuses.
Right,
Don't talk
exactly.
about ascension
I
energies.
just-
It's,
yeah, it's just always important for me to be an advocate for that. It's important for me. So thank you. Yeah.
Of course. Y'all, the replay will be out. The special offers there. We've gone way long. I've got to go. I love you
Yes.
guys. I'll see y'all on the next call. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Matthew.